Hey folks, welcome back once again to Indaba Africa. This is Chris coming to you live from central Pennsylvania. Well, I've been looking for answers. I'm hoping I can get some tonight, but let me before we get started and before I bring my guest in, let me just ask for a bit of good behavior in the chat. I know there's people who fall on all sides of what did or did not happen in Senegal on Friday the 16th of October, and that's why I've asked my guest to come in, who's known to me, Hein Marx from the ULA, United Liberty Alliance. One of the groups seeking secession from South Africa for the Western Cape. We'll bring him in in just a moment. But listen, I will ask for people to be well behaved. Obviously, if you're a troll, you won't be well behaved and you'll be sent packing by my moderators. Moderators have carte blanche for a heavy thumb tonight and pushing people off. If you get bumped by mistake, don't take offense, because if the chat gets flowing very fast, then the moderator's doing their best, but they might delete somebody by mistake. So don't take offense to that. Just come back in, all right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk tonight about the events that took place on the 16th of October in Senegal in the Northern Free State. Just a little background for those who don't know about it. This all started with the violent domestic terrorist assassination murder of a 21-year-old farm manager, Brendan Horner, who was brutally stabbed, beaten, and hung from a post, and then left there as a warning to others in the rural farming community to get off the land. It can be nothing else. There can be nothing else. That is clearly what it was. And they also left the knife that they stabbed him with in the ground in front of his body, and left him for his father and his partner to find like that. Disgusting and vile. Yet we saw at Senegal on the 16th, the so-called leader of the economic freedom fighters, the commander-in-chief as he fashions himself, inciting his followers and party members to violence, tweeting pictures of weapons, calling his fighters to attack, busloads of their party members being bussed in from Johannesburg and from Alexandria, coming down there and rocking up, ostensibly to protect state property. But of course, we all know that the role of a political party is not to protect state property. Its members in local councils, in metros, in the provincial parliaments, and in the national parliament is to represent the people, not to protect property. That's the role of the South African Police Service, which is not very good at it these days. The South African National Defense Force, the intelligence services, and the bureaucracy in South Africa, not a political party. So they showed up to protect political state property, and they damaged it. They broke rubbish bins that are made out of concrete all over the place. They tore down road signs, and so they actually vandalized state property. So they're just a bunch of feckless liars. That's the economic freedom fighters. We'll talk a little bit about them as well. But this was about Brendan Horner originally, but the 16th became something much larger. There has been some dispute or angst or tension within the Afrikaner and Afrikaans and Boer communities over what did and did not happen at different places. And so my guest today was actually present. He was physically there. And he's been on the program before when we talked about Cape secession. So when I saw a video of him there, it was in Afrikaans, so I had to listen very carefully to make sure I understood what was being said. But and I may have missed some things, so that's another reason for bringing him on. But when I saw him there, I'm like, oh, Hein was there. I was looking for somebody who was going to be there, so I will ask him if he'll come on. He has come on with no reservations, so I'm asking for people to be well behaved if you're on one side of this or the other. If you're a troll, goodbye, you'll be sent packing. Folks, welcome. And for those who are coming in from my other video, thanks for watching and then popping over here. I appreciate that. I want to give grades out for that event. So with that, folks, no further ado, I'm going to welcome Hein Marx into the program. Hein, welcome very much. Good to see you again.
Hi, good evening, Chris, and to your listeners and to the people that are interested in what happened in Senegal. As this conversation will go on, all I can say is I can give you what happened in my world, not in the parallel world that apparently people were in that I wasn't, because according to people, and I'm talking about not about a third party, about myself, even today, I heard even new things that I said there that I never even said. So then I've got to ask myself the question, why do people do it? Chris, this boggles the mind. Why would people say something that somebody said if they talk about somebody that will actually hear that? That doesn't make sense to me. So they must have been in a parallel world that I wasn't.
Well, Hein, that's exactly... Sorry.
No,
my apologies. That's exactly why I asked you to come on the program, because I saw you were there. I know you, and I know what you're going to tell. I don't know what you're going to tell me, but I know I can have a genuine conversation with you, and you also won't shirk from a hard question if I have a hard question, and so I appreciate that. So some people will, but with all my guests, I always ask ahead of time: is there something that is off limits. And for this conversation, just like with Steve Hofmeyer when he's on my channel, you said nothing off limits. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. But again, I can understand what you're saying from Parallel Universe, because I wasn't there. All I can see is video clips and what people say and do about it after the fact. But let me give you what I have heard or what's come to me, so that you get a picture, so that if it's accurate, you can say, yeah, that's right on, or no, that's someone is busy with Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma zolling. You know, when people zol, they share the zol. Anyway, so now that we've got that out of the way, okay, so this is what I can discern, and it's not clear at all to me, but it appears that, and I'm not denigrating him, I'm just telling you what was coming out there, so this is clear. You know this, okay? So it appears that Isaac van Zyl, who's, I believe, was affiliated or part of the Boer Legion, is part of that. He was present, and at some point in some location around Senegal, obviously wasn't downtown, was up in the back of a bucky, and he was talking to the crowd. And it was a bit confusing for me as to what he was talking. He was talking about the EFF and their behavior. And then I later saw you up on the bucky up there. You were talking, and it seemed to me as if I got the impression you were trying to calm people down and tell them things were okay. That's what I got. Maybe I missed it because, you know, Afrikaans isn't perfect. And nobody was giving me real-time translations. So anyway, so that's what I got. Plus what people are saying. Now, what I've heard people attribute to Isaac van Zyl, and I couldn't make this out, is that that he was telling people, let's go. We'll march into the town, into the EFF, these troublemakers. These are my words, not his. These troublemakers, and you follow me, I'll lead. And if bloodshed happens, I'll lead us into war. Now, that's what people are saying. I don't know if that XX would happen, but that's what comes out of it, at least outside of South Africa. And that's why we're talking, Hein, because we're trying to talk to people outside South Africa as well, so that we get the story straight. Because you're not going to get it from the New York Times. I mean, they're still talking about nonsense. So anyway, that's kind of what I got out of it. And then I saw that Willem Petzer did a video, and I heard from some people saying that this was a very what's the word I'm looking for? Inflammatory situation, and that Willem Petzer apparently disagreed with what Isaac van Zyl and others must have been saying. I don't know if it, by implication, meant you as well. I don't know, but and he said, "I'm not getting involved with this. You people are freaking crazy." These are my words again. I'm out of here, and he and a bunch of people left, and then things kind of calmed down. That's the image that's out to the world. How far from reality is that, based on your own perception, because you were present?
Well, how you've put it now is actually very close to the reality, but unfortunately, the things that I've seen and heard on videos today, because remember, I only got back from Senegal yesterday because we had to sleep over. It's
not exactly a 2-hour drive. Not exactly a 2-hour drive.
Exactly. Yeah.
But okay, so before we go any further, Hein, so what I just related sounds reasonably accurate as to what actually happened.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, that's encouraging then. So I haven't seen all the stuff that's come out today because I've been busy streaming and working. So okay, so let's continue from there.
Yeah, no, sure. Of how you've put it, Chris, that sounds sort of yes, what it is. But there's background to all of this, because the videos that I've heard and seen, and even a new one late this afternoon, remember it's 9:30 in the evening with us now, where the one person, and perhaps I shouldn't even mention the names, because I can't believe that people, I don't know what they were drinking or smoking or thinking when they said the things they said. Well, for instance,
Hein, if you prefer to not say names, that's fine. We'll do as best we can. But I mean, I think we probably won't be able to avoid Isaac van Zyl, because he's the touch point here. I mean, but if you just want to say general,
no, I'm not talking about Isaac here. No. Let's mention the names then, because
I don't want to put you in a spot here if it's going to put you in a bind.
No, Chris. Okay. No, Chris. The truth must come out.
Go ahead.
Let me put it different, perhaps then. What I wanted to say about what I heard about myself this afternoon is that apparently I said, and this was Devin Hofmeyer that said this, is that I said, come on, guys, let's go to the Koppie. That's a hill.
It's a hill, yeah.
Let's go to the Koppie and go and take them on. Now, I don't know if I was asleep or in a different universe or something, but I definitely, for instance, didn't say that. Now, that's the kind of thing that all these small little things that came out since yesterday while we were still on the road, that we heard people phoning and saying this and that and this. And today I saw this one as well, that he, for instance, said it. Now, I would like him to show me where I've said it, because there were literally, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of cameras there. Why? Because each and every cell phone today is a camera. So I would like to see where I said anything about a copy or a Hilden in English. So that's the kind of misinformation. When it comes to specifically Isaac van Zyl here, looking at what he said, but in the context of what he said, I've got to make this very clear. Firstly, where we gathered, the group of people that was there, it was, I don't know, somewhere around 250, perhaps 300 people. Mm-hmm. Because there was a massive miscommunication on where people must meet. So, again, this is not a fact that I know, but this is what I heard, that apparently 1,200 of our people met at a farm, something like 18 kilometers out of town. Now, even that doesn't make sense, because we came to Senegal basically to show support for Werner Horner. That is what it's all about, but also to take up the challenge from politician Malema, who said he wants to go toe to toe with the Boers. Now, I can guarantee you there were more than just the two of us, but Isaac van Zyl and myself were right in front. He was on the left of a truck that was basically stuck in the road with a group of people, and I was on the right of the truck with a group of people. He had a lot of police in front of him and the people, and I had a lot of police in front of me, between us and the EFF. And I can guarantee you, we did not go there to make war, but I want to make it very clear. We also said, we, myself included, we are here to face them. That was a challenge, and we will face him. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we've just had more than enough of this killing, this brutal, undescribable killing of our people. And if he wants to go toe to toe with us, well, we were there. We faced him. And eventually, ironically, the EFF left. We didn't. We were there. At one stage, the police colonel that was in charge came to me and he said, please, can you get your people back, because they got a report that the EFF is flanking us. Now, I made it very clear, for instance, and Isaac as well, that not everybody must go down or will be ostracized if they don't go down to face the EFF. So I turned around and I said, people, please, the EFF is flanking us. So the people that wants to go back, please go back. And I've said a couple of times, nobody will laugh at you or be funny about it. And that I said even on at the place where we gathered before we went down into town. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people turned around and they walked back. The rest of us, and I would say it was less than a quarter of us, stayed there. We stood our ground. We said, if this is what's going to happen, we're going to stand our ground. Now, before going back into what Isaac said and what I said, the reality is, His Honorable Mr. Malema never showed up. The big politician spending, I would love to know how many millions of rands on busing people in, never showed up to face us toe to toe.
Oh, I was going to say, he never showed up to engage.
He never showed up to face us. Oh, he was there.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, definitely there. We got some great photographic evidence of that. We're sitting next to Beckett Seeley in court.
Sitting next to the Minister of Police in court. But we weren't allowed to even go in. That tells a very big political story in itself.
Well, let me ask you a question just for a second, if I can. So, were you guys actually prohibited from going in? Did they stop you or say you're not welcome? You can't come here?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, you can't go in.
that's an important question because what about Brendan's family? Were they able to go in to the court, or did they try, or are they not there that day?
Don't know. I
Oh,
can't
okay,
answer you on that.
that's fine. The reason I asked
Yeah.
because Julius Malema has no standing before the court. He's not an aggrieved party. He is not.
Absolutely nothing.
He's not a barrister. He's not a member of the community. He has no standing whatsoever to be in that courtroom and should not have been present. Whereas the family and the attorneys and the prosecutor all have standing, as well as members of that community, or Paul Rue as well. So that just on the face of it alone, let's not even talk about the collusion between Becca Thiele and Julius Malema. Just that alone, he doesn't even have standing to be there. So I was trying to tease out whether, or not tease out, that's the wrong word, but trying to pull out whether we knew if the family had been there, because you guys were told you couldn't go there. So you were denied entry as a citizen of South Africa to a public hearing that Julius Malema was allowed to attend. So when Julius Malema says that white people are treated better than black people, he's full of it, because he was treated better than anyone South African, being given access to a courtroom that he has no standing in when other South Africans, white and black, were denied access. Did I get something wrong there?
Chris, not a thing. There's just one thing that you left out.
Okay, go ahead.
We, as the people that he challenged, arrived as individuals, or perhaps 2 or 3 people in a vehicle on our own. He arrived with 25 police escort vehicles.
I keep getting information that it was 26, but I'm quibbling. 25, 26. By the way, that's more vehicles than the President of the United States gets when he has a state entourage. Far more. And I know because I've actually participated in those.
Thank you. And then I've got to go back to something else that
Yes.
you mentioned. The reality is he challenged us to be there. That's one side of the story. The other side is we, as the so-called Boere in this case, were there to say enough is enough. We will not accept this total lawlessness anymore. Plus, we were there very clear, very openly to support the Horner family for the brutal killing of their son of 21 years old. The question is, why were the EFF there? Nearly apparently 4,000 of them. Yes, I saw them. Couldn't count them because they were masses there. Why were they there? Were they really there, Chris, to so-called protect public property? The same hooligans that burn towns down and nothing happens to them? No, Chris, that doesn't make sense. They were there for confrontation,
Yes.
to play politics. They were there to get votes. They were there to try and belittle the same people that they are systematically murdering. And if I say they, I'm talking about carte blanche that I think it was last year brought out a program with evidence that Julius Malema is involved in farm killers, boer killings. And now the next question. What did the government do about that? Nothing. So the person in this world, the people in America, please start opening your eyes. We've got a slow war and a genocide picking up. It's not officially a genocide, but it's why? Because the figures aren't there yet.
No,
They're slowly building up to a genocide. It's ridiculous what is happening here. And then day before yesterday, Julius Malema says there's no farm killings in South Africa. The same as the president of South Africa lied blatantly towards Mr. Trump to say there are no farm killings. I wonder what we were doing in Senegal then, because there were no farm killings.
Well, it is the height of lunacy and irony. It's as if these people live on an animal farm with George Orwell. It's some animals are valued more than others. Honestly, I think that George Orwell, he's kind of a piker. He can't compare to the bizarro world that is South Africa today. Well, not just South Africa. I mean, it's going on here in the U.S. now too, but you've got it much worse, where people just contort and twist everything. So yeah, protecting state property, not your job, number one. Number two, clearly not there for protecting state property. Attack, fighters, attack, assemble. What the hell is that? That's not. And on the face of it, Hein, I know you're going to chuckle at this because you know the answer to this, but I mean, by the way, I think you may have seen on the screen, I put up up the picture of Beckett Thiele sitting next to Julius Malema in the courtroom. I just left that up for a while because someone asked me to put it up there. But again, that's one of the, and this one here, Beckett Thiele has gotten caught, his picture taken, and you can see him looking at the camera like, what you doing taking my picture? But that one's going to be with us for a long time. But it's just unbelievable, the nonsense that goes on about how this gets turned around and twisted in so many ways. Reading the New York Times article today just set my hair on fire. So I was going to go to the barber tomorrow, but now I don't need to because my hair burned. But it's just it's just insane. Protecting state property and inciting violence and no charges. And so yesterday, now I'm being a little cheeky here, but yesterday also, not yesterday, Saturday, Friday, excuse me. Friday at Senate call, Julius Malema got up on the stage and he said that black people are monkeys. I mean, that's essentially what he said. Now he was being a cheeky, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're cheeky in South Africa. You can't say that. That's a criminal injuria. You can just, you've insulted someone. That's a case. Penny Sparrow said something about the same on a Facebook post, and she became a felon and criminalized, and she's passed away now, unfortunately, and probably the stress probably had an impact on that. Vicky Momberg goes to jail for an admittedly a vile thing that she did, but the woman was in shock, and no consideration for that. She becomes a criminal, a felon once again. Julius Malema gets up on the stage and says one violent, shameful, disgraceful, bigoted thing after another, and race merchantilist, and no charges. He gets a 26 police car escort. It's beyond comprehensions. As I said, George Orwell couldn't hold a candle to what's happening in South Africa.
No. Chris, all I can tell you is the interesting thing is, in the South African Constitution, Article 9 of the South African Constitution basically means everybody must be treated the same.
With dignity and respect.
Did you know that?
With dignity and respect. Yes, I did know that. That's what I'm getting at.
No, in all respects. Not only dignity and respect, must be treated the same. If the law applies to the one, it must apply to the other one. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's definitely not like that in South Africa. The ANC was telling the world how badly they were treated before 1994. And they convinced the world how bad it was. They forgot to tell the world how their population exploded under this bad Boere, Afrikaner, white government. They forgot to tell the world that the standard of living in South Africa of blacks, seeing that we're talking about blacks, were, and I don't want to put a figure to it, but 1 million times better than the whole of the rest of South Africa. The interesting thing is now they are doing exactly the opposite, except 10 times worse. There were 11 apartheid laws. Those were scrapped, gone. The world said it was a crime against humanity. So be it. But now with 117 reversed apartheid laws, the world is quiet. All I can tell you, Chris, even the world, the international community, will have to answer to themselves why they are quiet, so long quiet, about not talking and doing something about this criminal government. I've got no other words. It's a criminal government. And why can I say that? Just look at the corruption in the government. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But, go back to Senekal.
Yep.
Then you get people. People, our own people, that totally changed the words and changed totally what happened. And I said things and Isak van Zyl said things that we didn't. Or take it totally out of context. And then you must ask yourself the question, but why would they do that? Because the normal intelligent person would believe that somebody with a following on YouTube, for instance, won't blatantly lie. What those same people don't understand is that those people that blatantly lie like this, surely, and I've got no other explanation for this, because there is no other explanation for me. Well, I've heard today that Isak van Zyl said that Willem Petzer and Devin Hofmeyer smelled like alcohol. I can't comment on that because I didn't even see Devin Hofmeyer there. I suppose it was too dangerous for him, so he was somewhere not close enough. So I can't comment on that. But one thing is for sure, the only thing that really makes sense that they would blatantly lie like this is because they make their living only 100% from YouTube. So the more lies they bring out, the more hype they organize, that people talk and go into YouTube and stuff, the more money they make. So it all boils down to money. Isn't that sad? Isn't that really, really sad?
Well, it's a fair question. I think that's where you feel about it. But I'm confused about something someone said. People are saying they attributed to you that you told people, the women and kids, to go up to the kopje. Why would I don't? I'm trying to make sense of that. I mean, unless that's just some kind of red herring. I mean, I'm not. This isn't defense or attacking you. I'm just trying to make sense of it because I know the layout, the geography. There are no hills in town. The hills are behind the town there, and if you go up there, there were no EFF up there, so it'd be a good place to go hide. I mean, maybe, or stay away from trouble. So I didn't really understand that. Is that just that's something that came out today? You said.
Yeah, Chris, I never even ever said anything about a kopje. Never. In fact,
well, it's one Afrikaans word I know very well.
No, the only words that came out of my mouth in terms of women and children was because that's like synonym. You don't talk about women normally. You talk about in a situation like this, women and children. And if you talk about children again, what age do you put them at? They were definitely not small children. If they were children, yes, perhaps under 21s. I would say perhaps that the youngest would be what? I don't know, 15, 16. I don't know, I can't say. But I never saw small children. Mm-hmm. But the only words that came out of my wife in terms of mouth, in terms of women and children, was when I said, guys, please, if we go down there, the women and children must stay here. Mm. If something happens, it will not be safe for you. Remember, in terms of the situation there, we were only approximately 250, 300 maximum.
In that spot.
Yeah. We already had the information that they were between 3,000 and 4,000. So, we're brave, that I can tell you, but definitely not stupid.
Well,
we're not going to rush into a fight with odds like that with women with us. That's the only thing. Where a kopje comes from, I don't know. The only kopje I have is in Afrikaans, a kopje here. That's a kopje. A mug is a kopje. I never said anything about a kopje. I said the women and children must stay here. What Isaac van Zyl said about, if a war breaks out today, I will lead my people into war. Now, I don't know what was so wrong about that, because I didn't understand that as negative at all. Because, to be honest with you, I totally agree with him. If a war broke out, I would also have joined him in leading the people, no problem. So for them to have said that I'm saying it now, I would have done the same. What would they have done? That's the question. This is the point. If a war breaks out, what did they expect? For everybody to run away? I'm sure they would have run away, because those were Willem Petzer's own words. I'm going to some farm and pray there. That's what he said. And this is all on video. There were hundreds of cameras. The interesting thing is, today I saw the video that apparently was on TV, on the news, the SABC, where the whole conversation of Isaac van Zyl was on, and where I received the telephone call to say we've got 400 people that's in distress, basically stuck in between the EFF guys. They've got problems. The message they phoned through, they've got to be helped. So I said, please, people, are we going to talk about this, or are we going to help them? We've got to help them. We don't have a choice. Willem then came up and said, he can't believe this and he can't believe that. He's going to go and pray now. But it's quite interesting that also today I saw a video that also came out that while we were right in front, all standing there, facing them toe to toe. And if I say them, not Julius Malema, the big mouth, big boy, Julius Malema. I never saw him. I saw a video of Willem Petzer at least 400-500 meters back making his video, because his video means money to him. Because so he didn't go and pray. He thought, wow, if you go and pray, he can't make videos. He can't get people to subscribe and make money for him. So he went to the right, to the back. You can see on the video, there are virtually no people there because everybody's far ahead of that.
Yeah, no, I was kind of at a disadvantage because I had 6 people that were going to provide me footage and live feeds and such from there. 2 of them actually were concerned about their safety, so they bailed, and it's understandable. Both of them happen to be women, so if they've been men, I'd still respect it. I mean, it could be a very volatile situation, so no issues with that. I had a couple people who had technical problems, so no issues with that, not their fault. And I had a person who promised they'd be on the channel and then never showed up, and that caused me a problem. So I lost all my live feeds that I was expecting to get, and the only thing I got was I did use other feeds. I looked at Sightlander's feed, and Big Daddy Liberty was there in different locations, but we never got a comprehensive view of things. Couple drone shots from above, that sort of thing. And then towards the end of it, Ernst van Zyl, the Conscious Caracal, did call in, and we had him on for a conversation, and he related events that he saw around him, but he wasn't in all these places. So it was honest reportage. But let me, Hein, throw a few comments in here from the chat very quickly, okay? And let's see. So first name, last name, I love that. Says Willem was not lying; he was just over exaggerating. That's his take on it. And then Andre van As says it sounded like Isaac was trying to go and provoke the EFF. That's his take on it. And now Strues Bob says, all of us South Africans start arguing with each other now. No unity. Our message is not out there. Well, I mean, this is a long history of the Afrikaans speaking people of South Africa. But beyond that, folks, listen, relax. I mean, take this from, the international community isn't paying attention to the squabbling amongst Afrikaners, Boers, and that's not even the message. So I understand the concerns about unity within your community, but it's not an issue outside the country. It's not like people are going, oh, look, they're feckless, they're falling apart, they can't even agree on which light bulb to change. The world's not paying attention to that. They're buying the false narrative that Julius Malema is just a firebrand opposition leader. That's how the New York Times described him, as a firebrand. Now, I have some choice words that don't quite match that. The Conscious Caracal is also here. That's Ernst van Zyl. And just make it a couple comments out here, and not to start a fight between Hein and between the Conscious Caracal, but just, in the interest of full disclosure here. Ernst says that's incredibly irresponsible rhetoric. It's what he said. And they also said that it sounds like a desperate lie against Willem and Devin. That's in a response, I think, to when you said that what they said a few moments ago. So I just want to mention that.
Chris,
I think because you're talking about the making money on YouTube, maybe that's what he was talking about. I don't know.
To me, I don't have to have so-called desperate lies, because I've got nothing to lie about. I was there.
Well, you're on video too, so I mean, it's people can.
There are how many videos?
Yeah, there are a lot. Okay.
It's like typical. Funny enough, in South Africa, and I'm sure it happens in the years as well, is that it's typical those people that take just a verse out of the Bible and they build a whole story about that, but they forget about what is said before or after that. It's the same here. Things that Isaac van Zyl said is taken totally out of proportion. It's totally out of proportion. And in terms of the risk, remember, we had a helicopter there as well.
I was unaware of that. Didn't he had a helicopter? The only helicopter I was aware of was one that Becca Thiele arrived in.
No. We had, one of our people had a AS-350 there. Oh. You know the AS-350.
Oh, yeah. Nice helicopter.
Yeah. Very nice helicopter. So it was there. It was in the air. And it was at that stage that the police commander came to me and said that they're flanking us. I got a call from the airport saying they had to land because the police, which I also find strange, unnecessary, basically grounded our helicopter. Why? I don't know. But then they've got the authority to do it. So we were grounded. We didn't have air cover anymore. And if I say air cover, I'm not talking about firepower. I'm talking about an eye in the sky. The point is, we knew the risks there. We knew what was happening.
Okay.
We were, in fact, it's a very good friend of mine who's the owner of the helicopter. So we knew what was happening there. This is why I say, it's like taking one verse out of a Bible and making a story out of it. We had the whole story. We were there not to look for confrontation. And I've said this on the Bucky as well. We were not there for confrontation. We were there to show them that we will go toe to toe with them. And I made it very clear there, very clear. But we will not run away if they attack us. Well, is that irresponsible? No.
Well, I think the second part is not
exactly what we wanted.
I think the second part's not necessarily. I'm sorry. I think the second part's not necessarily irresponsible. I think the first part people could probably debate, have a reasonable debate about whether it was or not. Because again, we come back to what were the plans? Do you have medics? Do you have resources? Do you have egress routes? Things like that. I was very disappointed in, for instance, I'm not picking on Sightlanders, but Sightlanders had a journalist on the ground who was streaming, and thank him for that. Thank you for that. But he was. They were in a location where they had no egress. Apparently, they couldn't get out, and they were pinned in, and it was very short-sighted thinking, and there were only a handful of people there, and that's when the crowd started surging. They attacked a motorcyclist, knocked him off his bike as they tried to transit through there because they were pinned in. Yeah. And then they started throwing stones, and I'm not talking little rocks. These are like big pieces of brick and stuff at people standing there, white and black, journalists and just bystanders, just throwing it at them. And to me, that was incredibly reckless. I don't know what their plans were or weren't, but they managed to get out of there eventually. But they could all have easily been killed in just a matter of moments. I mean, I've been in crowds like that, and I've been in the midst of a crowd that was 200 people, and less than 5 minutes there were 5,000 people trying to flip over my armored Toyota Land Cruiser. Good luck. It weighs about 14,000 pounds. They couldn't pull it off, but it was tense as they climbed over my vehicle and the sky turned to night. That happens really fast. Crowd dynamics. So you guys were away from town. So that's what I'm saying. People could have a legitimate argument about whether it was wise or not wise to do this, that, and the other. But my point is about the Sightlanders crew. I was concerned about their safety. I thought these people were about to be overrun. It was dicey. So that was, let me get something here. I got to clarify something because the conscious clerical, I was mistaken, and I don't like to make mistakes here in false attribution. What he was saying, that desperate lie, was not that you were saying that they're doing it to make money. That's not what he's talking about. He said the comment that they smelled like alcohol, which you said you couldn't confirm. So I think that's what he meant. So just for clarification. Yeah. Okay, so that's and that would be a desperate lie on your part. That'd be a desperate lie on someone else's part who said that. And you're just, so we got that straight. Sorry about that. I want to make sure we got that straight. What else? Oh, this. So Ginaldo Rose, who is a reverse of Ronaldo Rose, said, "Hein, did you have any safety measures if a confrontation broke out? Did you guys carry firearms?" I don't know if answering the second question is wise. I don't know if you want to even do that, but the first one's certainly a wise one. But this wasn't your gathering, was it? You were just present. I mean, it was someone else's gathering, and you. Okay, if I mischaracterize this, correct me. The impression I got, Hein, because I didn't see everything, I just saw the clips. The impression I got is you climbed up on the Bucky to calm people down and reassure people and try to get, I don't want to say get control of the situation, but maybe ease temperature a little bit. That's the impression I got. Did I get that wrong?
No, you got it right. Okay. Chris, we as the ULA, we were 4 people of the ULA were there. The crowd that you're talking about wasn't a specific organization or a specific group. It was a lot of people that gathered on that parking area, basically on the edge of town, at a restaurant there. Okay. And basically what happened was the people there, and as I say, we talked to a lot of them before all of this started. They came from all over, from Pretoria, Johannesburg, East London. There was this black guy from East London that also gave a lot of speeches totally against the government and the EFF, by the way. And they were just a lot of people gathering. It wasn't a specific grouping. It also was not the Boerelegion that was there. There was a couple of Boerelegion people there, but it wasn't our or their meeting. Mm-hmm. So when the people started, going around, what are they going to do? They're going to go down and face them. This is when, and it didn't happen like that. It sort of built up. So I got onto the bakkie a couple of times where I tried to calm the people down and say, whoa, stop. We are here not to fight. We are here for two specific reasons: to honor Werner Horner, and also
Brendan Horner, sorry.
Brendan Horner,
Yeah.
and my apologies.
That's quite all right.
And to go toe to toe with Julius Malema. And in fact, this Khoza from East London, he made it very clear. I want to face Julius Malema. I want to face Julius Malema. He won't say the things that he said in my face. It's a different culture. The reality is, I tried to calm them down. Isaac van Zyl as well. Then, and I saw, by the way, this video today. Don't take my word now. Go and look at the SABC footage that was apparently on the news, I think it was yesterday, where I was standing with Isaac van Zyl in the bucket, trying to calm the people down. And Isaac got a phone call. Until today, I don't know who it was from. And Isaac gave the phone to me. It's clear there. I remember it. He gave it to me, and the guy said, please, please come and help us. We are stuck. It's getting dangerous. It's getting dangerous. It looks as though if they want to attack us. And I basically got up and said, guys, apparently there are 400, I said there are 400 people stuck, because that's the message I got, but it wasn't 400. It was apparently much less. Are we going to stand and talk here, or are we going to help those people? And at that stage, there was also a big communication. Remember, again, it wasn't our group of people. It was all a lot of different people. So are we going to help our people that are stuck there, or are we going to stand here? But then we've got the practical military problem. And that is, we are only about 250 and they are 4,000. We must get our people out. So I started calling from my telephone, the one guy that I knew was with another group of about 1,200 people to find out, where are they? Why aren't they with us in town? Because we didn't see them. We didn't know where they're on the other side of town, what happened. And first I couldn't get hold of him. Then I got hold of him, and he said, well, they're coming. They'll be there in about half an hour. And I still told Isaac, please, just get the people. Because now suddenly the people that it's not our people. People are there on their own responsibility, from their own houses, with their own cars, adults, with no leaders. I said, Isaac, just get these people to slow down, because they started physically walking. I phoned him. I said, Isaac, if you can't stop the people, at least get them to walk slower. And because I was at the back then, and it looked to me as if they started walking slower, because we wanted this 1,200 people to get closer. I phoned this guy again, and he said, well, they got to a police stop outside of town, and they can't get through. I said, well, you better get through, because we don't know what's going to happen in front. Our information is that there are approximately 4,000 people. We've got 400 people stuck, so-called, inside. We've got to go and help. In the meantime, these people all started walking. I then jumped on a bakkie and drove with a bakkie to the right, to as far as I could go, because there was this group of people, and I walked to the front, and we weren't allowed to go through. So I went directly. I specifically asked the police line. I said, who's in charge? So they showed me a colonel, or a lieutenant colonel. I spoke to him. I said, listen, there are 400 of our people inside. Are you going to help them? Because we can't accept this, that they're in danger. So he said, well, they'll help them. I said, well, if you don't go and help them, you don't leave us a choice. We've got to do it. And as I said it, I realized, because the police were in a difficult situation. They were very nice, the police. They were also very professional. I immediately realized what I said was, if they don't help us, we will do it. That will cause direct confrontation, because it will cause confrontation with the police, as well as directly with this massive crowd, literally 15, 20 meters further. So the warrant officer came to me and he said, please ask the people to just move a bit back. Then we can take some of our people here and go and help your people. Because obviously they've got their orders. They can't just leave their posts, because then there are no police between the two groups. So I told everybody, move off the road, that the people can go and the police can go and help them. And this I only found out yesterday, funny enough, as we drove back. I got the message from the one guy, Ben, who was one of the people that was stuck there, who I happen to know quite well. The message came through because he explained the whole thing from their perspective there. They couldn't get out. The crowd started throwing stones at them, and it started getting very hot for them. So they realized they've got to get out. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't get hold of us anymore. Now, I can't tell you, Chris, if there were telephone jammers or whatever, but the reality is, as we drove into Bloemfontein that afternoon, I suddenly received 122 WhatsApps.
Yeah, part of the problem I think that was taking place there is Senekal is just a town of 25,000. And I cautioned people about this before they went on my streams, that it's not, I think it's not a 5G. I think it might be 4G if I'm not mistaken. Currently, it's not, but
definitely not 5G.
Yeah, no, it's not 5G, but I think it might be 4G, and that might not be a true statement because I wasn't able to get the data. But it's a small town, 25,000, and the networks were going to get saturated very quickly, which is what happened. That happened to a lot of folks. They lost their feeds. I couldn't get video from a few people. They just couldn't get through because the network. So that there may have been jammers, and people are talking about jammers, and it's not unheard of. We see that in farm attacks, people showing with jammers to block the radios and mobile phones. But I think part of the problem, honestly, is just simply the network was saturated. I could see that from data coming in, but I think it was part of it. But so let me get a couple comments here real quick, Hein. So there was Hans said a little while ago, everybody's equal, question mark, yet only English is the official language. Well, actually, there are 11 official languages in South Africa, and until recently, everything was in English and Afrikaans in all official documents, although they seem to be abandoning Afrikaans with ever greater frequency on documents from what I've seen. So English is not the only official language. It may appear that way to some people, which is ironic because only about 7% of South Africans speak English as their first language. It's not even, the top language so far as numbers is Zulu, and then comes Afrikaans right below that because of the colored and white South African community who speak Afrikaans as a first language.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's
so
correct.
Now this is a good question from Caesar Africa, and this is for you. And then I'm going to come back to a few comments I have as a military guy, some things that made me nervous, and get your thoughts on that. Caesar Africa says, could the Boer Legion be considered a close ally of ULA Congress? And he's thanking me for my effort. Anyway, but this is a question I have because I don't know. Did you go there in your capacity as the head of the ULA with the other three folks, or did you guys go as individual South Africans to show your concern? That's what I was curious about.
No. We definitely went. Remember, we were 4 people. I mean,
right.
The ULA is a legal process. It's not a self-defense organization like the Boerelegioen or Zuidlanders or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yes, obviously we went as the ULA for whatever that might mean, because we didn't walk around with placards saying ULA.
Or name tags.
Or name tags, ULA, nothing. We had no like ULA at the back there, my ULA things on, nothing. So, yeah, of course. I mean, if you ask me now, funny enough, afterwards, of course we went as the ULA, but we went as concerned individual citizens of what's happening there. Mm-hmm. And we also accepted the challenge of getting toe-to-toe with Julius Malema and his hordes of criminals. Yes. To answer you, yes, we went as the ULA, but I mean, it's actually a funny question because I didn't even think of it before.
Well, no, because appearances matter, Hein. Appearances matter. I mean, and perception is reality. I mean, people perceive things a certain way, that becomes a reality. And I mean, look what Malema gets away with. The reality is that whites are, trying to reimpose apartheid, and they're all racist, and they murder farm workers. I mean, don't you know this? Don't you hear the narrative? But that's a perception of a lot of.
No, I don't.
Yeah, well, I do because I listen to all sides, so I can decipher it. But my point is that so images matter, and so that's why I was asking the question. And Caesar the Legion, whatever his name was, he was getting to that point. So I think he's asking a question: is there some sort of affinity or alliance or agreement or working together with Boer Legion, or you just happen to be there because you went to represent ULI? That's, I think, a good question.
Okay, no, all right. That question, that's a total different question.
Yeah, it's a separate question.
What happened last weekend, not this weekend, the previous weekend, we had a meeting, a ULA meeting, basically the whole Saturday and a bit of the Sunday, discussing the whole problem of Senekal and the potential of lives that can be lost there with all the rhetoric from Malema and the threats from Malema and the killing of one settler, one bullet, and kill the whites and whatever they sing all the time, which, by the way, goes like water off our backs because we know it's only talk. But still, we are concerned because there's a lot of people there in the town on itself, but also people that want to go only for the court case. So we discussed it, and one of the things that we decided was that we've got to get all the different organizations together. There are too many different organizations with the smallest petty differences that don't talk to each other and unnecessarily don't talk to each other and therefore don't plan together. So somebody said, Hein, but if that's how you feel, because we don't, we're not officially working with the Boerlegion. So somebody said, Hein, why don't you phone Isak van Zyl? I said, sure. So I picked up my cell phone and I phoned Isak van Zyl and I said, Isak, we've had a meeting and I want to know if you are prepared to come to a meeting in Bloemfontein next Thursday, which was Thursday the 15th, last Thursday, that we can discuss this to get our people organized, that there's no problems in this whole thing. And he immediately said, with pleasure, we'll be there. So I said, thank you, we'll see each other in Bloemfontein. He still asked what time, and I said, well, I haven't even thought of it. I said, make it 10 o'clock. It'll give the people time from Johannesburg to get there because it's 4.5 hours drive from Johannesburg. And then I found another guy, Ben Almeru, who I know also very well of the NCA, National Crime Assist. And I said, Ben, this is what we've decided. I've already spoken to Isak. He's prepared to come. Will you, because the NCA is quite big in South Africa, I said, will you organize with organizations that they send their leaders, that we can start working together? All these different organizations, all trying to be king on their own dung heaps, is nonsense. So immediately Ben said, absolutely no problem. So that's the background of that. So we said, good, we'll do it. Then we left here that last Wednesday, unfortunately too late, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, only arrived in Bloemfontein 11 o'clock Wednesday evening, very tired. And I was seriously very surprised with all the organizations that I didn't even know existed, whose leaders arrived there. And that Thursday, the 15th, we had a meeting basically the whole day. I thought, to be honest with you, we're going to decide, are we going to Senekal, yes or no? And then, as the chairman of that meeting that Thursday, I said, well, let's vote on it. So one friend of mine, actually, the guy with the helicopter, he got up and he said, no, we've got to discuss this Senekal thing more in detail. And that basically took the whole day because we decided, what are we going to do? We don't want confrontation. We're not looking for confrontation. Anybody that feels they can't control themselves, please, nobody will be angry. Stay. Don't go the next day. Sorry. So the whole conversation was about that and about getting RV points where we're gonna. Sorry,
It's all right.
my throat.
You got something? You got something to drink there?
My coffee's done.
Oh,
Any
if
case,
if you want to grab something real quick, I can hold off. Clear, because I got something
no,
here.
that's fine. Let's see if I can push through.
Okay.
I'm a soldier. We push through.
Tell me about it.
Any case, so the whole idea was also then to look at RV points that we don't cause problems directly with the EFF, but definitely also not with the police, because that was one of the decisions. Don't look for trouble with the police. The police are there to do a job.
Yeah.
Then there was a lot of misunderstanding, because in South Africa there's a law that says you may not carry a firearm to a gathering, a public gathering where there's more than 15 people.
Well, the EFF tried to.
Say again?
The EFF tried to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, just to answer you on that, they even stopped one car with a bootload full of shotguns,
and
so they were there.
At least one unregistered firearm they found. So
yeah. In any case, so then we decided we will take our firearms, your pistols and revolvers or whatever, because in South Africa, it's dangerous. There's no way in the world that I will drive from my house to Bloemfontein, which is 840 kilometers. Never. I'm not talking about only last week. Never.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Without a firearm. That's stupid. That's ridiculous.
It's foolish.
And we decided, well, let's take our firearms, because we got such different informations from people that and everybody's got the exact perfect answer. Everybody's thing is perfect, and 99% said no, the police will confiscate your weapon and you may not. And one of the lawyers of the ULA, who's a very good friend of mine, he went with me also to support, and he said no, they can't take your firearm away if you want to use it for self-protection. That's in the Constitution why you may have it, and you registered. It's not the same as in the USA where everybody may have one. Here you need to go through very rigorous exams and tests. It's nonsense to have a firearm.
Can take 2 years just to get it registered, a firearm. Yep.
And then one of the guys also came back and said, well, I think it was one of the Boerelegioen people spoke to the colonel in charge at that side, that was Thursday, about the firearms, because we're not prepared to give our firearms up. I mean, that's stupid. You don't do that.
Well, I mean, South Africa is a place where if you pull in a lay-by or you stop at a petrol station, you might be gunned down. I mean, it's that serious in some parts of the country.
Chris, just to interrupt my own story.
Okay.
This same lawyer friend of mine, his mother and father-in-law were robbed today in Worcester.
Jesus. Yep.
Today.
Yep.
And his father-in-law was hit in the face a couple of times. That they weren't killed is, we can just go on our knees and thank God for that. But this is South Africa. In any case, so we got the message that the police colonel said, no, if you bring your license, obviously you must have your license with you and your ID with you. That's fine, because it's responsible people who's got firearms in South Africa. So then we left Bloemfontein the next morning, and we arrived at the police blockade just outside the town of Senekal at 7:10 Friday morning at the police blockade. Now, let me give you the facts. Stopped. There were 3 policemen there, and I must add it for what it is. The first thing that he asked was, do you have a firearm with you? And I said, yes. And I took my 357 Magnum 6-inch revolver out, and sort of went back. And he said, wow. And I said, well, yes. You want to see my license? Yes, sure. His next reaction, a black policeman, was, this shit of the EFF must stop. This is a black policeman. And I said, absolutely, I agree with you. So then we went through the whole thing of, looking at the firearm and the serial number and my license, and they've got a register, which I had to register it. And this, what I'm telling you, obviously it happened to everybody that's got a firearm.
Yeah.
We drove through town, not realizing that it was already starting to fill up with EFF supporters, and apparently they started arriving the previous night already. I stopped at the gas station. I filled up my vehicle, and we literally drove from the gas station about, I would say, 20 meters, and I saw some vehicles, bakkies standing there. For the Americans, a bakkie is a pickup
truck. Yep.
Yeah. And because we didn't know, that was the other thing. The RV point that we got showed on the one guy's phone that it's 81 kilometers outside of town. And we said, no, that doesn't make sense. Something is wrong. That it just doesn't make sense. We didn't come to an RV point 81 kilometers from town, which happens to, at the end, turned out to be 18, by the way, but it showed on his phone as 81 kilometers. In any case, so we stopped at this group of bakkies. They were about, I would say, 6, 7 bakkies standing there. But now remember, this is like 20 meters from the gas station in a side street. And there were a couple of young girls. I would think they're in their late 20s, perhaps. And I said, guys, what are you doing here? This is dangerous. You can't be here. Don't be here. You're going to be surrounded. You can't be here. So I said, come, follow me, and let's get another point, just at least on the border outside of the town. So they all followed me, and I would say it's about from where they were, which happens to be the exact point where the later call it confrontation happened between us and the EFF. I would say is about 500, 700 meters maximum, going up a hill. On the right, there's a restaurant, and it's like not really a restaurant, like a food stall kind of thing, with a big, massive parking area. And there was a lot of cars and bakkies and stuff standing there. So we pulled in there, and all those bakkies following us, they all pulled in, and I actually started recognizing some people there. And so we were at least 500 to 700 meters from the center of town. Now remember, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. It's a very small town. And we were there, talking to the people. The press was there. There was lots of Reuters, Rapport, Carte Blanche, SABC, many others. So, they were the press were going around and having interviews with everybody, or whoever they wanted to have interviews with, whatever. And it was a good mood. There was no aggression. There was nothing that I can say was anything to be concerned about, that people were trying to make problems or looking for trouble. They were there for a murdered boy of 21. Yeah. That's the bottom line. And
but the EFF was there to protect state property, because there are no farm murders, according to Julius Malema. I just thought I'd point it out to you, because I did watch his speech, which of course wasn't done in Zulu, Xhosa, Venda, or Siswati, but actually in English, for my understanding. That's why he did it.
Chris, the previous day, the 15th.
Yeah.
I got a video. I mean, everybody got the video of an interview that Malema had either the same day or the previous day.
News Africa.
Where they asked him.
Yeah,
exactly. Where they asked him, and what happens if a civil war breaks out? And as a politician in Parliament, he said, so be it. Now, again, interestingly enough, Article 9 of the South African Constitution means he must be arrested as well. That's very, very unprofessional of him to say it. And this, to me, is the sad thing of what happened with our people. These people that are attacking Isaac van Zyl and myself.
Yep.
I never heard them attack Julius Malema about that.
I don't know. I don't know because we'd have to say which ones individually. I know a couple have, but I don't know all of them. But you're absolutely right. Not only is it an issue of that, but he's also violated the parliamentary rules for conduct by parliamentarians in South Africa's parliament, and there should be a session to censor him or remove him from the parliament, whatever the process is. I don't know. You don't have impeachment there, but whatever that process is, because he's violated the norms of the parliament with that language. Very dangerous. Hein, let me stop you for a second and get some of these comments in, okay? Because they're really stacking up, and there's some really good ones here. Let me see. The first one I want to get here was that, where's it at? Stevie said, carte blanche is captured. They're not impartial. I agree. 20 years ago, carte blanche was brilliant. They're captured now, just like almost all the media in South Africa. Then it said, this is brilliant. I love this one. This is from Andre Zen. It says, Chris, please ask Hein if he and other minority groups will be open to a massive sit-down over Zoom with you as a moderator. Game plan needs to be established. In other words, everybody does a sit-down session, and we put the camera on it, and we transmit on Chris Wyatt Africa. That's pretty clever and cool. But I would have to say that I thought Hein is not a representative of a minority group. He's a representative of people who are seeking secession for the Western Cape, which includes minority and majority people in the Western Cape. Or did I get that wrong, Hein?
Well, minority people, which means, okay. we stand for, in terms of international rights, we've determined our so-called, in terms of international rights, group of people as the minorities.
Okay, fair point. But I was looking in the context of Western Cape, because in the context of Western Cape, the minorities are actually the majority there. 50% colored, 17% white. So I misspoke. Yeah, you do represent minorities in the South African context, but in the Western Cape, the minorities are the majority there.
Majority. Not only the Western Cape. It's right, not only the Western Cape. Yeah. It's in terms Cape. Of the bigger picture, it's a much larger area than that. It's in terms of the old South Africa, it's the whole old Cape province, which means in modern terms, today's terms,
Eastern Cape,
it's the Western Cape, Northern Cape, and a part of the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
And well, even the Western Free State. Mm-hmm. So yes, to answer him on the question, I've said it many times, we are not here to sit and do our thing. It's not our thing. Mm-hmm. It's for the people. We are prepared to sit down with anybody that wants to intelligently, because I think I must add that as a new one, intelligently discuss the legal ways of getting independence. Not firstly illegal ways, but also not stupid, ridiculous ways.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. And I didn't mean to misrepresent. That's why I want to make sure it was clear there. So a few more of the comments here. Let's see. So Dane Venzel said, this is an information war in a digital age. It's not going to be an old Boer war. Wake up, old timers. Winning against the radical left. Don't mess it up. Dane says that very well. I mean, and if you listen to what I've been saying, part of my grade was the reason the farming community won is because but the farming community has been handed so much ammunition in the information war that it can use now, because of that photograph, because of them singing "Kill the Boer," ironically at a arraignment for suspected murders of a farmer. That they just, so it's just, they're going to look like buffoons if people use this information more properly. Dane also says, information war in a digital age, not guns and swords. Let's use our brains. Well said. And then, sorry, this is cheeky, but Tertius LaRue says, the only reason Malema is not president is he failed woodwork and he can't build a cabinet. Sorry, I had to get that in. That's a good one. That's a good one. Now, something, MJ, something I said that to say, he says, I hate to say it. Emmy says, I hate to say it, but it looks like Julius Malema is winning the propaganda war. Do not understate them. They are looking for emotional reaction with parade. Well, they didn't win the propaganda war is my argument here. In fact, they lost. They won a tactical victory. Yes, they can bust people in and they can destroy public property and get away with it. And the media will report things in a fraudulent fashion. But Julius Malema was itching for blood. He was itching to draw farmers and white South Africans and those allied with them into a conflict in which people were injured to spark chaos in the country, because that's what he wants to do. What he's looking to do, in my view, is unseat Cyril Ramaphosa in the ANC. I would not be, now this is the first time you heard this anywhere, Hein, and this is, I would not be surprised to see that there are elements in the pro-Zuma faction, which is ironic because he attacked Zuma, but don't get me wrong, they think like Julius Malema, the pro-Zuma faction, just he was attacking Jacob Zuma because it was convenient for him to get attention and rise in prominence. That's why he attacked him. It was pure political. It wasn't because he didn't like Jacob Zuma. So I wouldn't be surprised if Julius Malema is in cahoots and collusion with people inside the ANC who are the hard left, racist, hate white people, chase all the minorities into the ocean, nationalize all the mines and all the property and all the businesses, and it'll be paradise for us cadre. That faction of the ANC, which used to be about 40%, seems to gain supremacy, and Cyril Ramaphosa is on a fine line. He could fall one way or the other. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's an effort here to collude, to embarrass Ramaphosa into doing something or cause a problem and then cause a collapse of his cabinet and his government. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see Julius Malema leave the EFF or have them merge with the ANC at some point. That's not beyond the realm of possibility. So,
Chris, I totally agree with you because we've known since 2014 that the EFF gets money from the ANC in any case.
Yeah, exactly.
So the word is going around that the EFF is actually nothing else than the military wing of the ANC.
It's the sad MK of today.
Yep. The sad politics that they are playing, I say sad because it'll be a sad day if they want to really push to have a civil war, because a civil war will be bloodshed like they don't want, that we don't want, that nobody wants. And I say dangerous again, because it's also dangerous of the other politicians. And I'm talking about each and every politician in that government seats today. We call them the green cushions. That they don't stand up and say, Malema must be charged. Yep. There are many, many charges already that can be brought against him.
Dozens.
The sad thing is, all the so-called charges that gets thrown against him just disappears. But then again, why is it the same with all the ANC charges that also disappears? And if I say all, they're in any case in the minority. 99% of all the criminal activities that goes on in the ANC doesn't get charged in any case.
That's a good point. We get started on state capture. That's the whole thing. Let me grab two comments here, and then I'm going to transition to something because you just made a point about safety and danger, and I want to get back to my comments, the military thing. So, the two comments I want to hear. One is Hans is not in agreement with the ULA. He thinks Cape Secession is a pipe dream. It's not constitutional, things like that. So, but Hans said, and then Corinne van Jasveld, she responded. So you don't have to answer, so I'm just pointing this out. So Hans said the ULA are misleading people with secession rubbish. 4 years ago, Spain refused their state with support from the international community. Hein, you don't have to get in here because I know the answer, and I knew this before I ever talked to you. Catalonia could not secede from Spain because it's specifically in their constitution forbidden. Provinces can't secede. So if I got that right, Hein, just put a thumbs up so we got it. But that's the bottom line there.
Absolutely, you're right. But I mean, Hans, I would love to know where we are misleading people. If we are doing nothing else than international law, Hans.
Yeah.
And in terms of South African law, go and read your constitution, Article 231, Article 233, and specifically Article 235, Hans. And then you will see it's actually very dangerous what you're saying, that we are misleading people. Because if I'm misleading people, Hans, with all respect, then you are totally, totally underestimating my intelligence. I might be stupid. I might only have 2 brain cells, Hans, but at least I use both of them. You've got billions, but it doesn't sound as if you use one. Oh. And that's my answer to you, Hans. I don't want to be nasty, but if you want to attack me with nonsense like that, then expect an answer like this, Hans.
Well, Corinne van Jasveld came back and said, I suggest people read up on Hein and their movement before saying things that are not true. That was her response. And so that was kind of a defense of it. Now, let me shift here. I made a few notes here. Just I'll pull them over here on my whiteboard. I always keep my handy whiteboard set over here just to take notes and make sure I don't miss questions. But okay, so back to Senegal, which is why we started all this. This has been a fascinating discussion on all fronts. But okay, Hein, you were there. Now, the thing that concerned me is a couple things here that I didn't know that I was trying to find out. You've clarified it. This gathering where you were at wasn't one group or one organized group. It was a whole bunch of different people, some who just rocked up because they wanted to be there, some who came from specific groups to represent certain things. But it wasn't like there was some sort of formation of organized group that was all one thing. So my concern with this, and you and I kind of shared this offline, we talked earlier with voice notes earlier today. And my concern with this is that as a military person who plans for contingencies, I was incredibly concerned about what was happening. One, because I didn't have the information. Of course, I shouldn't have the information. I'm not part of what's going on. I'm in the public. So, it's not, operational security OPSEC is a consideration here if you're doing something, whether it's, just going to a rally or you're doing a military operation. But my point is I was very concerned because the videos I saw, I got the impression, and that's why I want your feedback on this. I got the impression that emotions ran high and that people are like, well, let's go in there. We'll confront them. If they want to fight, we'll give them a fight. But my concern is, as you said, you were worried your phone was jammed because jammers, but even if it wasn't jammed, the network was saturated. My concern is, what were the communication? This isn't directed at you. these are for the food for thought for the crowd. Where was the communications plan? Where was the backup? Where were the drones? And people are saying you can't fly drones in South Africa. That's BS. I watched a kid flying a drone for Sightlanders. And there's your reconnaissance. There's your intelligence right there. Where were people and spotters up on the Kopi looking down in the town with binoculars and magnifying glasses, keep people up straight? And where were the aid stations for those who were injured and evacuation routes and where? So what I'm getting at, Hein, and this isn't directed at you or even at Isak, because I am still trying to figure out in Afrikaans what he said. And some people gave me translations, but I don't think I got the quite translations correct. But what I'm concerned about is that if people just get emotional in a moment, because it happens, people, and with good reason, people are upset. All right, that damn it, this is me embellishing. This is not the people present. You know what? If they want trouble, we'll give them trouble. All right, people don't want to be involved, stay here. We're marching in right now. And as you pointed out, the numbers were small. They didn't compare with the other side. And a lot of people didn't have weapons. And there's no plan. It makes me think of, I'm not making the comparison, but it makes me think of the horrific, tragic situation in Bophuthatswana, if you remember, with the Mercedes, when the Bophuthatswana Defense Force murdered those guys in cold blood. I mean, they should have been arrested, but they shouldn't have been murdered. It kind of puts me in mind of that. So my concern is in a situation like this, and this is what I think that Malema wanted. That's what he wanted. So in my concern, and I could be entirely wrong about this, but my perspective is if someone had gone towards them. And that's why I was concerned about the Sightlanders, but it was a small number. So the EFF crowd didn't feel threatened. They were just being jackasses and trying to provoke them. But a group of 150, 200, 300, 400 coming towards that crowd might have gotten their attention. And my concern is that this could have turned into bloodletting without any serious plan whatsoever. And then, of course, the police. What are the police going to do? Are they caught in the middle? Are they going to step back and watch it? Or are they going to intervene for one side over the other? That's an unknown factor as well. So, again, the point here isn't to throw shade on you, Hein Marx. That's not the point. Mm-hmm. It's just to discuss this from a logical, clear-headed thinking. I mean, I can give somebody a plan for the next time something happens, what you should be doing, and maybe somebody had a plan. I'm just not privy to it. But certainly the public perception, the things I can see from the video and everything out there, it's being reported, it appears as if there's no plan. It's just a bunch of people like rocked up. All right, tensions were high. We're going to go in. And that is, in my view, a complete recipe for disaster. Now, I'm not mischaracterizing anything that happened. I'm just giving a perception of how it came out. So thoughts, comments on what I had to say, Hein?
Chris, firstly, you're right that obviously we discussed it earlier. It was just a group of people. Mm-hmm. It's also on the videos, actually on the SABC videos, that the people were getting really fed up. They wanted to just go. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the further point, totally, where I said more than once, the women and children must stay, because if something happens, it's just total ridiculousness to have women and children down there. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, that was a massive, massive mistake. But then this is the whole point. How do you stop people from going? And I mean, with all respect, what authority do I or Isak van Zyl have over those people? Nothing. Funny enough, they happen to have listened to me at a couple of stages and to Isak many times. But when they wanted to go, and they did. And in fact, women, I'm not talking about the 22, 24-year-olds that were scared to go, women went. And that was a massive problem if something happened. But to just answer you on contingency and escape routes and medical evacuation and backup, and I'm talking about backup.
Yeah, I get it.
In military terms,
yeah.
It was there. That I can guarantee you.
Okay.
That was there. Would it have been a bloodbath if the EFF attacked? Oh, sure, absolutely. Unfortunately, to both sides. Not only from, let's put it, our point of view, that we would have shot many of them, because we were armed. We were legally armed. And I'm sure some of them were also legally armed. But I can guarantee you, of the ones that I saw there, it must have been totally, and now I'm talking to you as an ex-military person myself. These are the kind of situations that you must assess very quickly and look at who. Well, this is the difference between getting information before you go and attack an enemy, and in this case, before you get before an enemy and there might be a confrontation. So there was a lot of assessment done, not only by myself, but by other people as well. And it was very clear that if there were legal firearms on that side, they were very, very few, very few. Could it have been that there were illegal firearms? For sure, they tried to get them in. Could they have slipped past the police checkpoints? For sure, they could have, but not massive amounts. Not in the amounts of 3,000-4,000 people kind of thing. Forget about it. That's impossible. So in terms of a military assessment of the situation, I don't want to go into the detail of this, Chris, but yes, the assessment was done. The military risk to us was not big. There was definitely a risk, and the risk was much bigger because there were women there. But in terms of the planning of medical evacuation, military, and I use the word military because I know you understand with what I mean with that. Military backup from the hills. Everything was in place, and that's not only for feeling better. That's for genuine planning. But unfortunately, that is no feeling better when something really went bad. I don't know how anybody would have felt if even one of our women would have lied dead there.
Well,
as I say, how do you stop those people from going? We've got no authority over them.
Well,
we had no authority over them.
Well, you have personality and leadership, and you stepped up, and that may have played a role in calming people down, calming temperature down. So you may not have authority, but you can have moral authority, you can have leadership. You know that from a military standpoint, you can lead people. So, and sometimes it's not the generals, and sometimes it's the privates. Who step up and say the right thing. Not that you're a private, but you get my point. It's leaders don't always come from where people expect them to, and things like that. Yep. So that's important. Yep. Now, there's a super chat that came in from Abraham Spees. And this is a hard question, so but I'll add something to it. It said, now, first off, I have to ask, is this an accurate comment on what you said before you answer his question? But his question is, because I don't know if it is, why did you state independence can be claimed if there's a civil war? Is that a responsible thing to say? Did you, in fact, say something like that as an accurate quote?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I mean, so now please explain. Okay.
You asked me earlier if I was there as an individual or the ULA, and I specifically told you, of course, we were there as the ULA, but we didn't wear badges. In the process of calming the people down, and the reality in terms of leading people, of being a leader, is to try and capture the attention of people and get the attention away from the negativeness. I specifically said, people, at least if a civil war breaks out today, at least we can declare a unilateral declaration of independence. Now, because I've heard before, yesterday I think, that, but that was so bad. And why was it so bad? I would like to know from sorry, I didn't get his name, but why was that so bad? That, by the way, that independence, that unilateral declaration of independence, that independence is for him. I don't know what his name is.
Abraham.
It's for you as well.
It was Abraham Spies.
Abram, that's for you as well. Are you, Abram, so used to hearing lies and getting honey around your mouth from politicians? And I'm not a politician. You see, this is the difference. I can only give you the facts, and I won't lie. I just don't do it. But the people are so used to only hear the sweet side of things, and not only the sweet side, but blatant lies from people, that apparently, Abraham, it sounds as if you don't want to hear that you might and can get independence. That is a reality. If a civil war broke out on Friday, we could legally have declared a unilateral declaration of independence. Simple. And I would love to know why that is so wrong. That's exactly what we've been fighting for 7 years. So what must I now say? Whoa, if a civil war breaks out, guys, please understand one thing. Then we are in big problems. There are going to be blood and guts, and let's only talk about the negative things. The moment that I talk about something positive, then I'm being attacked. I would love to understand that one. I don't.
Or you're being attacked, or you might be getting attacked because you're not doing enough. The sort of thing that happens too. So Martin van Dyke gave a super chat a while ago, and I didn't get to it. I just want to. He said, because he was thanking me thanks for doing this, Chris. I think people just misunderstood the situation. I think there's a lot of that. I don't know if there's maliciousness, and that's something I'm trying to pull out of all this thread too by talking to people and find out if there in fact is malicious stuff going on here. But the bottom line here is, thank you for the super chat, Martin, earlier. And by the way, Martin is from the Netherlands. Or he's in the Netherlands. So thank you for that, because it's a Euro super chat. That's why I always know it's him from the Netherlands. But so my what I'm trying to figure out from this whole thing is, where ground truth is. And I think we've gotten some of that from your perspective, where you were at. You weren't everywhere, so you can't fill us in on other places, and you can't speak for other people. But I think it's very illuminating what we've discovered so far tonight, that you guys did go there as ULA, and there was a small number of you, and there were lots of other groups that gathered. So that's very helpful. But it is, and the other thing I think people need to take from this, and because I'm outside South Africa, I'm not there, and I'm looking down in. I'm looking over. How's that? That's better. It sounds paternalistic to be looking down, but I'm looking across. I'm looking across to South Africa, and I'm watching international media, and the story at the moment is not disunity amongst Afrikaners, Boers. That's not the story. That's an internal.
I'm glad to hear that, Chris.
That's an internal story. It's an internal story for you guys.
It bothers us. It bothers us that people would go and look, like Abram would go and look for a reason to say, why did you say that we're going to have a unilateral declaration of independence? Wow, clap your hands and have a braai, because that's a fantastic thing to happen. I never heard Abram saying anything negative about Julius Malema and all the things that he's doing. This is the shocking thing to many of us, that by trying to calm the people down, and thank you for saying that, Chris, because yes, you've said it. We definitely calmed the people down. We tried to not only calm them down, but at least try and organize them to listen to one command and control. That is the bottom line. And it happened. What did not happen was that, for instance, the women did not listen, because they, unlike a lot of other people, wanted to be there and also wanted to be toe-to-toe to the other people. But I'm really, really glad, from the deepest points of my heart, that you say that the international community does not see this attacks between our own people for the most stupid, childish, ridiculous reasons that I don't even understand myself, instead of standing together. At least what happened on Thursday the 15th is that a lot of different groups, at least that's the one good thing, said, now we will stand and work together in future, because it's not only about Senekal, it's now about the future. So that is another message to this government and to Julius Malema.
Well, and I think
we are organizing as one much bigger grouping. Sorry, Chris.
No, sorry, I cut you off. I thought you were finished, but you were pausing for dramatic. That was great. My apologies for that. No, I think that another piece of this that we haven't really talked about here is that the certainly not Bekele. He doesn't care, but people who are still legitimate within the African National Congress, and there are patriotic South Africans in the ANC who care about governance. It's not just a bunch of nasty leftists. There's actually some genuine people that serve in that party. But those who are genuine are probably, I would suspect, a little bit nervous and quaking their boots, because now they know just how close we came to a tinderbox exploding and bodies laying in the streets of Senegal. It was actually that close. And it wasn't stopped by the actions of the ANC. It wasn't stopped by the actions of anyone in the government bureaucracy. It wasn't stopped by the SAPs. None of them did. In fact, a couple people make comments here. Why did the SAPs run away? I can't comment on that specifically because I didn't see the SAPs run away and I don't know the context. What I can comment on is I saw SAPs in the area where Big Daddy Liberty was for the last half hour of his stream, because that's when I watched part of his stream, and they were organized. They were working together. They were positioned very well, and they were set up, but no one was coming towards them. So I don't know if they just were in a reserve position, but that was taking place. But EFF wasn't far away because Big Daddy Liberty walked over to them from that spot, and that was one. And the other thing I saw was the Nyalas that were sitting behind the mass throng of EFF supporters who came through and knocked over the motorcyclist, knocked him off his bike, and started throwing rocks. Those cops sat there and did nothing. They stayed behind. Now, did they do that because they were scared? Did they do it because they were ordered to? Did they do it because they were in collusion? Did they do it because it was the smart tactical decision? It might have been a smart tactical decision. So I'm not going to comment on the SAPs, because while I've been beating up on the SAPs, and there are lots of criminal and corrupt people in the SAPs, there are legitimate police officers, and it could have been very ugly just from a SAP's perspective on Friday. The SAPs could have overreacted and started beating people with truncheons and going up and arresting people and making the situations worse. And I didn't see that. So I think that we need to, if we're going to give grades to things, just pull the SAPs out of the conversation for now. There's enough things we can go after them for the corruption on. We don't have to focus on Senegal. And maybe their response was good. I don't know. But I don't think anybody can make an honest assessment of that, because nobody has the view of the whole town. So I think that's kind of where we're at on that one. Hein, your thoughts?
Chris, from my perspective, I can only see what talk about what I physically saw. The police that formed the line in front, there were basically two lines: the front directly on the crowd that I was in front of, and on the other side of the truck, the line that was in front of Isaac van Zyl's guys that was behind him. The line in front of us, between us and the EFF. If I must count very quickly or I would say there were about 20, perhaps 20, 22 policemen, women. No, they never ran away. No, they never attacked us. No, they never confronted us. In fact, there were two incidents where, let's call them hotheads, because that was the word that came out on Friday. Two hotheads from our side went to the police and confronted them. And I walked up to them and I said, "Get away, come back. You're attacking the wrong people," because these people, the police, weren't doing anything wrong. So in terms of, and I totally agree with you, even the Senegal murder, there were, I've heard two different stories. Either two or three of the murderers were policemen. So, it's the old story. It doesn't mean 100% of the police is corrupt. That's nonsense. But in terms of Friday, the police that we encountered were professional, were quiet, even when they were confronted on both cases by so-called our people there, were never aggressive, were never confrontational, nothing. So I can't say anything negative. And then, no, they never ran away. So yeah, I can't say in this specific case that at least 22 policemen that and I mean I talked all the time to their commander, the lieutenant colonel, and to the other guy who is the warrant officer all the time, and they were very professional. I really can't say anything negative about it. No.
And like I said, the only thing I saw where they did intervene was with Nyalas, but that may have been for a specific legitimate reason. It might have been a foolish tactical decision based on the commander's assessments to rush into that crowd. And again, those people from that were not just Sightlanders Media, but other people around there, allow themselves to be caught in it looked like a spot where they couldn't egress. So but a few things. So before we wrap up, Hein, and I'll give you a chance before we get done here to share your overarching thoughts about what's going on here. But my concerns, and this is not directed at you or at Isaac or at anyone who was present, but my concerns, and this is in general, not just here, is that we know that Julius Malema is looking to start bloodshed. That's what he wants, because that will destabilize the situation in South Africa, which is what he wants. Everything he does is intended to destabilize. The fact that the government of South Africa doesn't act means either they're terrified or they're in cahoots, and neither one of those is a good outcome. So anything, now people say that, well, okay, so what do you just want people to give up and run away? No, that's not what I said. I'm not encouraging that either. But I'm concerned about reckless behavior when people are outnumbered or they're not prepared. Also, the consequences. What if it does turn into a shooting match? It's a very different thing. Now, this is not directly here, but let me just make another fictional scenario. Okay, we're in Paul Rue. Okay, we're in Paul Rue now, and in Paul Rue there is some event there. It's not related to a murder. It's related to a question about expropriation without compensation. And so there's demonstrations on both sides. There are white and black South Africans angry about expropriation without compensation. They're marching, and then there's the EFF over there, going, this is the way it's going to be. And so you have this happen, and then you wind up in a confrontation, and people get shot, people get killed, and then what comes out of that? That's my concern, is something like that, if people aren't prepared for that, because what happens next? It's a really scary potential situation coming from that, and I appreciate. Now, in that situation, say you have a situation where you have 150. You're outnumbered, 150 black and white South Africans, farmers or business people worried about expropriation. And here come 3,000 toying EFF members, and they attack you. And they start attacking, coming after you, and then people fire in self-defense. That's a completely different thing than, say, that group coming towards you and you going towards them. That's a confrontation by both parties. So anyway, I'm just trying to tease that out, but I worry about reckless behavior, and that doesn't mean that I'm a dove. It also doesn't mean that I'm a hawk. It just means that I'd like to think I'm a considered, experienced leader who tries to see all the branches and sequels of what could come out of this. Now, I think that internally within the Afrikaans speaking and the Boer community in South Africa, I think that you can see the division here in the comments with people here that follow my stream, and there's some new people here, but a lot of these people follow the stream all the time, so they enjoy the content they're getting from here. They appreciate it, and yet they have very different opinions on things here. Some people are saying, well, you were reckless. Some people are saying Isaac was reckless. Some people are saying that Willem lied. Some people are saying he told the truth. And it's all over the place. So what I'm saying is this, is that the other thing that comes away from this, and fortunately for you all, except for my international audience listening right now, most people aren't paying attention to this outside the country, because Sightlanders don't come off good based on what a lot of people say, and some people think they came off fine. The Boerlegion does not come off looking good, according to a lot of people, and some people think they are fine because they stood up for the Boers. Okay, but standing up, at Little Bighorn is, not the best thing for Custer, and then Offer Forum doesn't come off because people just like to hate Offer Forum. They go after them. I think the two people that are getting off scot-free that nobody's talking about other than me is the DA and the ANC. No one's really talking about the ANC's abject failure here. And the DA, if they were present, I don't know. I know that Helen Zille was there, but that's the extent of what I know from the DA. So that's kind of encapsulation of what I saw. And if there's anything you want to comment on there or give us some final thoughts, we don't have to run off, but I don't want to keep you all night. It's after 11 o'clock in South Africa.
No problem. Chris, in terms of the ANC and the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, don't forget them.
Okay, that's right. I didn't see them either, but they might have been. I don't know.
They don't get bad off at this at all, quite simply because they weren't there.
Well, there you go. Well, someone said earlier, did I know that the ANC Youth League was there? No, I didn't know the ANC Youth League was there. The only person I saw wearing anything or ANC colors was a young kid wearing an ANC T-shirt. He was surrounded by EFF thugs in the street, and Big Daddy Liberty caught it on film, and they ripped his shirt off him. They were going to beat him up. I mean, I was worried about they were going to get a tire and necklace this guy, and they tried to burn his shirt, and they made him put another shirt on, and then they started chanting down with the ANC. That's all I saw of the ANC. Oh, I'm sorry. And Beckett Sile sitting next to Julius Malema in the courthouse. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, Chris, that's why I say, we've got to be realistic about what is happening in South Africa. Mm-hmm. We are not busy organizing a braai. We are not busy organizing a next parliamentary session. We are not busy organizing a party for Friday night. Mm-hmm. We are busy and have been busy with the international legal process of secession for 7 years now, mm-hmm. for no other reason, because in terms of international law, not only do we have the right to secession, but we have the cause, and that is all documented, to secede. The sad thing is that now we need the so-called will of the people. But if you look at the infighting, and I'm sorry to say, it's very clear that most of the fighting and the comments are from, and I'm not talking about your people tonight, I'm talking about what I saw today, after coming back yesterday, Diet, was from the keyboard warriors. We can't win secession. We can't win our right to self-determination only with a keyboard. A keyboard and the media war is very important. But part of the problem is that a lot of people are sitting at home, have done nothing in their life yet, and think that they are experts on whatever topic they comment on. When it gets to secession, they know the best, but they don't even have a clue what secession is about. When it gets to space shuttles, they are the builders and the architects of space shuttles. When it gets to desalination, they know much better. This is part of the problem in the world nowadays, but especially for us in South Africa, is that people think they are specialists on each and every topic, even on the facts, what happened on ground level. And they weren't even there. And the ones that were there, like I saw a video this afternoon of one guy very calmly, very precisely set out the whole thing that happened and said, but how can these people say these things? And they only arrived literally a couple of minutes before the crowd started moving down. And this is the problem, Chris, is that people see the whole picture out of their own perspective of only seeing one pixel of it. Because suddenly the internet gave them the might of the pen, or in this case, the keyboard. Mm-hmm. That's a massive problem, and that problem is all over the world the same thing. But when you start talking about people's lives, and in our case, the future of millions of people, and remember, I mean, including, and I don't know if you saw the videos of Petrus, the Corsa that was also there with the chains around him. Yep. This is not a racial thing. This is a criminal thing in this country.
Indeed.
Of which the biggest criminals is the government. The question is, what did the ANC say, or even better, do about the whole Senekal thing? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
What did they do what did they do about clicks? 44 stores vandalized, terrorism, petrol bombing, nothing.
Nothing. And who was in charge of that? Julius Malema. But in terms of the Senekal 1, we call it now the Senekal 1 and the Senekal 2, okay, they arrest this Pienaar guy for being totally upset. And yes, I'm sure that they will have genuine criminal cases against him. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, if you go directly according to the law. But then, if you use the exact same law and you use Article 9 of the Constitution, then Malema should have been arrested long time ago. Why doesn't that happen? But I can tell you that, Chris, we, as the ULA, will make a case, a criminal case against Malema based on Article 9 of the Constitution.
Well, good for you guys.
And then we will see how fair this country's constitution is and how political the whole system is.
I think that's brilliant.
So the people that wants to attack me or the ULA, don't worry, we love you as well. What we do here is for you as well.
That's cool.
We don't exclude you because we may not in any case.
There's two more comments I really want to get in here. There's lots more coming, but these are good ones before we get out of here. Andres Bernhardt said that Newsroom Africa was surprisingly balanced, or is surprisingly balanced. I would say that in the interview with Julius Malema, I give the journalist credit. He pointed out that Julius Malema, you just said you want peace, but you just called for war. I mean, how do you square this? I mean, those are my words, not his. That guy did his job that day. He's welcome to come to America and give questions to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as far as I'm concerned. But good comment, Andres. Thank you for that. And then Petrus from Mullen. If you're any relation to Dwayne from Nelsprut, thanks a lot. We love Dwayne from Mullen. I'm a Stormers fan. He says, as a farmer, I think that to spend time talking about what happened Friday is a waste. But Friday in Afrikaans, Friday is a waste of time. I have a plan, but first we must understand ourselves, our nation, in the modern time we're living in. I agree everything that you said in the second part of your comment there, Mr. Vermeulen or Herr Vermeulen, but I disagree that it's a waste of time to talk about it. Man, maybe listening to a YouTube channel is a waste of time, but I spent 36 and a half years in the Army and all over the world, and after action reviews are critically important. You have to look and see what went right, what went wrong. And every organization that was there, including the EFF, but I won't give them advice, every organization was there ought to be sitting down now deconstructing what they did right, what they did wrong, where they screwed up, where they could have done better, because if they don't, then they're useless. They're not professional, and they really need to do that. So I imagine that Hein is probably discussed with the other three chaps from ULA with him there, and he's probably going to have a meeting sometime soon to sit down with other people in ULA and say, hey, listen, we went there, this is what happened, and this was good, this was bad, and you have to discuss these things. So talking about it's important. But again, if your point, Mr. Vermeulen, is that people chatting about it on YouTube is useless, I'll buy that. But I don't think our time here is wasted tonight. I think it was useful because we've discovered, a lot of us in the chat have discovered things that we didn't know that are factual now, which helps, thresh it out. Now, we'll have disagreements about what's true, what's not true. Some people say Hein is a genius. Others will say he's a liar. That's not really germane. Now, people come down different sides of the argument all the time. So I don't think it was a waste of time. It was not useful. Hein, any last
comment? We call it in military terms. In military terms, we call it a debrief.
Yeah, you guys call it debrief. We call it after action report or after action review if you actually meet in person. So, and I'll be doing one of those on Monday after this week's exercise with general officers. I have to do an after action. Then I'll be released from my commitment helping the War College out and go back to my life. But any last comments, and we'll go ahead and get wrapped up. And then I'll thank you, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to at least give the facts. Funny enough, not only from my perspective, but from the perspective that anybody can see from all the footage. And there's a lot of footage that came out on YouTube. Anything that somebody says that me or Isaac van Zyl or anybody said that's not on footage, I won't even listen to, because that's nonsense. Everything, each and every individual, myself and Isaac included, once you are up on that bucky, there were hundreds of cameras on you. So people mustn't make up stories. In terms of Friday, for sure, there was a lot of mistakes. For sure, it wasn't a military exercise. For sure, there were dangers. Yes, on the other hand, we tried our utmost best to plan for extraction and but again, it's difficult to have a military operation planned with complete civilians, including women. So that's all part of our so-called debrief that will happen, that we've actually already started with. We don't want innocent people to get hurt. Nobody, myself included, nobody wants to get hurt. But in the same sense, I want to make it very clear. We will not back down from our right to stand up for our right in this country. The ULA, although it's a pure legal process, we are not a military wing or a self-defense group or nothing. I can't stand back as an ex-military person with specialist training, to just say, well, because I'm busy with the legal process, I must forget my specialist military training. That would be childish, ridiculous, and unnecessary. So the reality is, Malema, nobody else. Malema started something here that he now proved he wasn't toe-to-toe. That the psychological war, if you want to call it like that, on Friday. The EFF lost. We stood our ground. They were the ones that backed down, that went out. I heard today somebody said it was so hot they had to go and rest. Wow. um, what a joke in military terms. How do you like that one, Chris? The point is, the psychological war for the people that wasn't there, believe me, we, with the women that against my advice went down with us. Mm-hmm. We won that psychological war, believe me. And all I can say to everybody that doesn't want good news, because it sounds as if a lot of people love negative things, we are fighting for you. And if I say fighting, I'm not talking about physical fighting. We are fighting a legal war, and we won't stop until we get what we can in terms of international, as well as African, as well as South African law. Thank you, Chris.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot, Hein. I really appreciate you being on tonight, and also taking a few heat rounds there. They weren't too pointed, although a couple of them a little charged. But thanks a lot for that. And thank you very kindly for your generous time, and also agreeing to do this in short notice. Again, as I said, when I saw you on the back of that bucky, I'm like, well, I can ask Hein. He can tell me what he saw. I know you'll tell me. So there we go. So that was pretty awesome. Like, I don't know Isaac van Sal or other people there, so I didn't know who to talk to. But thanks a lot for bringing a bit of, I'd say, clarity into the conversation. There are still differences of opinion on all sides, and that's to be expected. But anyway, it's great to have you on the channel once again, and I'll open it up once again. And you have an invitation to come back at a future date. We talk about Cape Secession and where things are going. Black Monday's coming up on the 25th of October, which is actually a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. They're just doing it on Sunday because people can go to it, and I'll be covering that live stream. But thanks a lot, Hein. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel once again.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, and thank you again for the opportunity.
It's my absolute pleasure. I'll let you exit on your own there, and then I'll just continue. I'll close out the stream. Okay. All right. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers. All right. So there we go. Participants. Whoops. There we go. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning to this. I hope that you found it informative and useful. I know that people didn't agree with everything Hein had to say. I know that some people loved everything Hein had to say, and some people disagree. And I think some people actually called him a liar. And some people said, no, he's not lying. And he also made comments about Willem Petzer and Devin Hofmeyer. So we've talked about that, trying to be as open and balanced as we can here to discuss this topic. I think it's important. And again, once again, the whole reason I did two things today related to this. The first was I did a video which premiered just moments before this stream, so apologies for that, but it took too long to upload. And that was a video in which I gave grades and said who won and who lost, or if there's such a thing, for Senegal on the 16th of October. And I think that's important because, as I said, you need to do after action reviews of what you did and didn't do, where your successes, where your failures are. That's what a smart business and a smart organization does. So anyway, there you go, folks. Conscious Caracal's out here. Looks like everybody's leaving. I've still got one more stream to do tonight, folks. I think most people on that side of the world, over in South Africa and Botswana and Namibia, are going to be in bed. But I also did a video today. Wow, folks, I looked my Namibia video today on what the president said about white Namibians and his attacking other cadre in the SWAPO. When I came on the stream, it was 11,300. I'm absolutely blown away by how many people watched that. I've been doing videos on Namibia for months, and most I ever had was 70 views on one of them, 74. So thank you so much for that. Plus, some people went back and watched my older Namibia videos, which I think are valuable. So thanks a lot for that. Anyway, folks, people are dropping off left and right. Bram Janssen van Rensburg. Hello to you. I just happened to look over and see that there. So, folks, thanks a lot. I'll be back on tonight in about 3.5 hours here on the East Coast of the United States, 9 p.m., and I'll be interviewing Earl Weber, who is a Jamaican immigrant, a Republican conservative living in California and running in the 37th Congressional District of California, which includes Beverly Hills in West Los Angeles. So feel free to come back and check it out if you find yourself up. I think Robin might be up at that hour and a few others, but feel free to check it out. That'll be tonight. And again, folks, tomorrow, my stream, if there is a stream in the morning today, it'll be a very early one because I have to be at the War College at 7 o'clock, which means I have to leave by 6:15, which means that if I do a stream, it'll be 5 a.m., which means I'll be up at 4 o'clock. So I'll debate whether to do that tonight or not, but that will be the pace for this week. And then I'll do a late night stream when I get back and videos as I can. But that's the plan for this week. Don't abandon Chris Wyatt Africa. We're still here. We're still transmitting. You can't stop the signal. The signal goes everywhere, and that's where I'm at. Anyway, so folks, thanks a lot. Nicholas says he'll be up. And Nicholas, I missed your super chat there, comment, and so let me get that in very quickly. And you said this wasn't a question to Hein, so it's okay for me to get it now. Nicholas said that as long as it's lawful, obtain your independence and broker your utilities, just avoid war. I think that's good sound advice if it's possible to do that. But let me thank the folks who gave some super chats. We had super chats in this stream from Lezan. She did it before it even started. She said, thanks for all the hard work. Just an idea from my side. Why don't AfriForum join the IR in support of BDLs spreading the word? Your views are parallel. It's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Martin van Dijk from the Netherlands gave a super chat and says thanks for this, and he thinks there's some misunderstanding. Abraham Spies asked a pointed question of Hein, and then Nicholas offered that super chat at the end. So thank you guys so much for that. Really appreciate it. It's time for me to say so long. Carol Burnett, it's time to say goodnight. And thank you all so much. I will be back later tonight for my third live stream of the day. Earlier today, I had Bram van Straten on here, the Springbok number 671 and former coach with the Southern Kings, who is running this thing called Care for Kings to raise money for the staff and players from the now disbanded Southern Kings franchise. So that was pretty cool. You can go back and check that out. That was a fantastic interview. Really enjoyed it. Many thanks to Hein once again. And folks, that's it. I'm going to close out. God bless and have a good night. And we'll catch you here next time on Chris Wyatt Africa, which for some of you will be in 3 hours and 30 minutes. Thanks a lot.